Hi everyone, welcome back to another gameplay of Infinitode the 2. So in this video I'm gonna show you the best way to farm resources. Farming resources is something that is not gonna be really needed as you start the game, because you can gain them as you complete the quests, as you open up the chests. So it's something that, especially early on, as you don't have many green papers or you don't have many blueprints of this type right here, you're not gonna really need a lot of resources. But then as the game progresses and as you unlock especially stage 5 and you complete stage 5 and you unlock endless, that's when farming resources is gonna become a priority, because you're gonna end up needing a lot of resources if you're gonna maximize your normal research, and then you're gonna start getting your endless research. So I'm gonna show you right now what in my opinion is the best way to farm resources, and I'm gonna also give you an example and a demonstration on like the early game and how to do it. And I'm gonna play on normal, but as I said before, you're always gonna play on endless. Like as soon as you unlock it, you're gonna start farming on endless, because at the same time as you're farming, you're gonna be able to gain more rewards and also more loot. So even if it's gonna be just a little bit, but everything counts, especially early on that you gain very little. But that's just for the purposes of this video. I'm gonna show normal because I have max endless. So I might show you something that's completely biased and something that you could never do. So that's why I'm gonna play on normal. So I'm limited here to the max normal research. And yeah, now I don't really recommend, as I said in my other video, to farm resources using custom maps. Custom maps should be used to farm items for like endless research, right? To farm items for like lucky shot tickets, rarity tickets, or other type of tickets. Or you should use custom maps as to sell them and to gain prestige tickets, but you should never really use custom maps to farm resources, for the very simple reason that resources are always going to be limited here. You can see this 300. This 300 means that if I place this resource right here and I mine it during my gameplay, I cannot gain more than 300 Infier. Any extra Infier that I might gain in my game will not be saved, will not be counted. And that's a huge debuff, right? Because of the fact that you cannot really gain as much as you can. So that's why I recommend that if you really want to farm your resources, you go into normal levels. Now there are different levels that you can use. I'm going to show you just 2, but I think there are more than 2 that you can use, especially like even 6.3 can be used to farm very efficiently. But I'm going to just go here into stage 5, and I'm going to show you stage 5.5 and 5.7. Now, in my opinion, these 2 stages are the best ones for a very simple reason. It's very easy to survive a lot of waves in these maps, and therefore you can survive longer, and therefore you can gain more resources. And another thing is that the enemies that are type of enemies that are spawned. In this case, in this map right here, you can see that the type of enemies, the waves, you can see that there are no flying enemies. And if we go into level 5.7, it's another level where there are no flying enemies. Now this may look like something not very important, but it's actually very, very important, because especially jet enemies, so the triangle flying enemies that are immune to slow, are going to be very, very hard to deal with in the late game. Like for example, past wave or like 200, something like that. So if you want to really maximize the amount of time you can farm and you can survive, then I recommend you to play in these 2 levels, because there are no flying enemies. Like level 5.8, it's another pretty good level that people use to farm, but the main difference here is that, well, not only the bosses are going to come out, but that there are flying enemies. See here, jets and helis, and especially jets are going to be very, very problematic. So even if it's just a few waves, but it's going to be something that is always going to force you to either use abilities or to lose lives. So that's why even if Like 5.8 could be also another good level to farm. Even 5.6 can be used, 5.4, but in my opinion 5.5 and 5.7 are the best ones for that reason. Now I'm gonna show you actually on 5.5 how to farm and how to start your farming. Every time that you want to farm, you're gonna first of all look at the map and see where you could place your miners, so that when you place your mining speed modifiers that are going to be essential to increase the resources you gain, so that you can boost multiple miners at once. Now stage 0.5 is especially good to farm scalar, vector, matrix, and the tensor. So these 4 resources can be obtained very easily here. There is one infier here that you could theoretically use if you also want to, but I think that the first 4 resources can mine more easily and can also provide you with some more buffs. So that's why, in my opinion, like, you should use this level to farm the first 2 type of resources, right? And now what you're gonna do is you're always gonna place very few towers, a good tower combo between them. So for example here, I'm gonna start with flamethrower, splash, and probably also freezing right here, and a tower with good range, probably sniper. So I'm gonna start with these 4 towers, and these are gonna be the only 4 towers I'm gonna use in the game. I will not really use other towers. I'm gonna play here with insta auto wave disabled. And what you're gonna do is, as soon as you have enough coins to place the miner for the resource that you're gonna need, I don't know, let's suppose here that I need scalar, vector, matrix, and tensor. As soon as I have enough coins here, I will be dropping the miner for that particular resource. So for example here I'm gonna place scalar, vector, and matrix. Then for example here I could be dropping tensor. Now you want to do this right at the beginning for a very simple reason. If you can place these miners very early, you can already stack up inside double mining speed time. And this is something that's going to be very important because it's going to double the amount of resources you gain. And now once you have placed the miners for the resources that you need, what you have to do next is you have to upgrade the towers just a little bit so that they can destroy the enemies quickly. You can gain this timer here is the timer that's added to the double time. So the faster you destroy the enemies, the more quickly you call the next wave, the more time you're gonna have stored inside. So it's all connected. And then at this stage, after you've done this, you're gonna start placing bounties. Bounties are very important when you are either trying to achieve a very high score or even when you're farming, because of the fact that they're going to increase your coins. They're going to increase the amount of cash you gain, and therefore they're going to increase how much you can upgrade your miners, how much you can upgrade your towers, how quickly you can upgrade your towers. And therefore what I recommend here, so after you have placed your miners, you already start gaining some miners, some resources. You could stack some time. Unfortunately here my towers are very bad, well, because this is normal, and as I said before, you don't want to farm on normal, but unfortunately it is what it is. So I might gain here, I might place just also a Tesla, and then maybe yeah, maybe even minigun. So just trying to place here some towers to just increase the damage I'm doing, so that I can call the next wave earlier and I can start stacking up some more time in my miners. And as I said before, you just want to upgrade your towers enough so that you can deal with the enemies, but then you're going to really focus on the bounties. You're going to place at least, like, if you have them, if you have enough of them, you're going to place around like 4 or 5. Yeah, that extra cash can really grant you a lot of potential upgrades, and you can get them much faster, so it's something that you're always going to do. Alright, then remember here you have also a core in this level, so always go for like upgrade price reduction, damage, range, power per level. These upgrades are very nice, so that's what I recommend you to do. Now the next stage, as I said before, is placing bounties. So try to place first all the bounties that you need. In my case, for example, I don't really follow a criteria. I just place my bounties so that I have enough cash left so that my bounties can give me at least like 30 to 40% efficiency. So that is normally what I do. I don't know if it's the best method. It's something that I've been using for a while, and but I don't know if it's the best one. Yeah, that's something that I've been doing. So here I'm gonna place a fourth one and then the fifth one. And here getting the core at the same time. Here my miners have already some pretty decent time stacked up here, 3 minutes. If you're really quick and your towers are placed in key positions where they can do a lot of damage to enemies, you can even sometimes like stack up to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So it's a lot of time that you can stack up here. So don't really worry about that. This is just a demonstration. Now, one thing though that I have to say is that when you're farming on Endless, enemies are gonna cut through the platforms and are gonna try to reach your base more quickly. They're not gonna follow the path. If that's the case, don't worry. What you can do is you can create what I call a blockade, so that you're gonna force the enemies to walk the long way around. And I'm gonna place here my last bounty. So for example, in this case, if it would be Endless, like enemies would that spawn from this portal would just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they just would leak, right? So what you do if you don't want that to happen is, well, first of all, you can place more towers up here so that you can damage them. But then you can create a blockade where pretty much you just place some towers. I recommend to place either freezing or blast, because they provide you with some, passives and some extra benefits. And in this case, you can see that the towers are blocking every possible path that the enemies could try to follow to reach your base faster. And therefore, you can use this very easy trick to force the enemies to go long. And especially, I think this square right here, this is where you're gonna place your most towers, because this is a very good position. And therefore you're gonna force the enemies to don't step into the teleports, to walk a long way around here, so that they you can just do a lot of damage to them. And now after this stage, so after you place your bounties and you have your towers are decently good, are doing some decent damage, the next stage is of course upgrading the miners. Now first, remember, always place mining speed modifiers, so always place first the modifiers. Then you upgrade the miner for the resource that you need the most. So if it's tensor, I'm going to upgrade this miner as much as possible right away. But remember, always staying above the efficiency of the bounties. So look here at the cost, look at how many coins you have, and then you just do a very quick math calculus so that you try to always stay above 3,000. Well, in my case, for the amount of research I have is 3,000. And you're gonna upgrade the miner to level 5 right away. Don't upgrade it a little bit and then you upgrade a little bit the other miners and so on. Always go for the miner that you really need and just upgrade it fully as quickly as possible. So in this case, you can see that I'm mining now a lot more tensor, much more quickly. Plus, of course, I got some double mining speed going on, so even faster than this. I could get here all the towers level 6, maybe. Alright, just trying to, once again, just maximize the timer and how much time I can keep on gaining on my miners. And then you just move to the next resource you need. For example, in this case, if it's still tensor, the resource you need, rather than placing here a matrix, where you could placing is a tensor miner, so you could be mining tensor here and matrix rather than only matrix. But let's suppose that I'm in need of every different type of resource. So I need tensor, but I also need matrix, I need vector, and I need scalar. So you just go in terms of which are gonna be the slower ones. So you upgrade first, for example, tensor, then you go to matrix, then you go to vector, and so on. So you upgrade first the resources that are the most rare ones, and then you continue and you go on with the other ones. Alright, another thing that I recommend, well, this is just for this map, but I think it works very nicely, is to get some modifiers right here, damage and attack speed, to even boost, especially the splash that it's here in the center. Yeah, just keep an eye here on the cost, on the amount of coins you have, always keeping it above 100% efficiency, and yeah, just keep on going. Now, what happens after a while is that enemies become, of course, more and more tough, they get more HP, so no matter how much you upgrade your towers, you're gonna eventually spend too much time destroying the wave, and so you're not gonna be able to stack time, you're gonna start losing this time right here. This is something that you should always monitor, you should always see, and when this timer reaches 0, what I recommend you to do is, unless you can of course upgrade your towers more or to do something like that, is to activate Insta Auto Wave. This is gonna now force the next wave to come out as soon as it's ready, and so you're gonna be gaining a lot of time right away. You're gonna be gaining, well, depending on how many wave seconds you have, you can really gain a lot of time. And so this is something that I recommend you to start doing, and this is also when you start using your abilities. You should have your energy bar full, so prepare a global ability like Firestorm or Nuke, or you can even, like if you have a good spot to place your abilities, you can even go with like Smoke Bomb or with some other ones. And you can start like destroying the enemies with your global abilities. Now, another thing that I recommend you to do if you really want to maximize your farming is using Overload. Now, Overload must be used when you are already, when you have your miners almost maxed out in terms of level, right? So that you are really gaining a lot of speed. So for example, here I'm gonna just go one more time. Maybe here level 8, this splash, right? That's buffed up by a lot of modifiers. And because of Insta Auto Wave, I'm gaining here a lot of time. See, now I have 8 minutes, so that's a lot more, right? And yeah, so you can do just this trick whenever your timer runs out too low, or when you approach the late game and the enemies are so strong that even if you want to, and even if your towers are maxed, you cannot really handle them, and you're gonna end up needing to use abilities. And yeah, now when this happens, of course, remember before the enemies leak, so before you lose lives, use your abilities. And now at this stage, see that all my miners are like level 5. Alright, here is where you can start using overloads. Now be careful, because overloads, remember that they're going to increase your mining speed, but if you use too many of them, the enemies are going to get so strong and so quick that not even abilities are going to save you up. So what I recommend to do in this case is to just pay attention to the amount of energy you have and the amount of overloads. So I recommend to use like 4 overloads in a row, 3 or 4, right? No more than that, and see how it goes. If you see that your towers are still pretty good, you can use then the 4th one. And eventually, what you can do is you can use a lightning bolt, right? Trying to handle the few enemies that might sneak past. Now in this case, I might lose some lives, but that's okay. And you can see that the overload timing is not very long, so eventually it's gonna run out, and you're gonna be able to then the enemies are gonna be slower once again. You're gonna be able to destroy the last few much more easily. And you're gonna upgrade your towers, of course, and then as your energy recharges, then you're gonna do the same process again. So you're gonna use like 3 or 4 overloads, depending on how well your towers can cope and can handle the enemies. And then once again, if you need to, use Ball Lightning. And yeah, just keep on going just like this. So for example here I can place some more modifiers here to ultra boost this sniper to make it super strong. And I'm gonna just wait here to get some more energy. I don't know, again I'm gonna wait to have like 8 energy, and then I'm gonna use again some overloads. Let's see how it goes. And I'm gonna also get here a freezing, and I'm gonna upgrade freezing, probably level 8 as well, this one, so I can slow down a little bit more the enemies. All right, here we go, 8 energy, so let's use the overloads. So let's use 3 first, let's see how it goes. Yeah, probably 3 is gonna be enough here, so I'm gonna use 3. I'm gonna let the timer run out, and then I'm gonna recharge my energy, and then I'm gonna use 3 again, because you can see that these few enemies already are pretty tough, so I'm gonna just handle them more precisely. And in all this time, right, that I have here used my abilities and everything, I still have double mining time, and this is very important. Like, you always want to use overloads with your miners have double mining time, because in that way, when you use overloads, they're going to be mining a lot more of resources. Another thing that you can do, it's more risky, but you can do it anyway, is you can like activate insta auto wave, and then you can use overloads, and then you can use like one global ability to handle the few enemies that can sneak past. So for example here, I might do just that. So I'm gonna activate here insta auto wave, right? I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna gain some extra time because I'm going pretty low here in terms of extra double time. Let's go with microgun. Let's go with power. Let's go with a splasher level 10. Probably also sniper level 10 if I can. Yeah. This should increase a lot the damage I do. And once I have around like 3 minutes, I will use my my overloads. I have full energy here, so that should be okay. And even if I'm calling here the waves instantly, you can see that I'm still doing pretty decent damage to the enemies. Like, they can't really stack that much, they can really push that forward. And then right here I'm gonna stop insta auto wave. Right, I have enough time, I think, to use the last 3 overloads and to try to maximize my my miners. So let's use it right now. All right, and for the next 60 seconds I will be doing I will be mining more. Right, you can see that the speed is definitely higher, so I'm mining more resources during this time. Enemies are slightly more tough, but it shouldn't be that hard. And here we go, already the timer is down. And yeah, so once again, using overload is very important to increase a little bit more the resources you gain. Be careful how many overloads you use, because enemies can become very tough, and then if you just end up losing because you ended up using too many overloads, that's something that is gonna then screw up your farming process. And then here, depending on which resources you need the most, you can place even more like mining speed modifiers. In this case, I'm gonna place these 3. All right, once again, I don't have any more double time, so it's once again insta auto wave, and just keep on going just like that. You're gonna eventually also reach your tower's maximal level, and then after that, when the enemies are gonna be already too tough because too much HP, that's when you wanna start using your abilities. Use them wisely, because the more wisely you use them, the better it's gonna be, because you're gonna be able to survive longer. And yeah, that's just it. So I hope that this was a very helpful guide on how to farm your resources. And you can see that here in let's see how much time. I think it was like about 15 minutes, maybe, yeah, 17 minutes here. I was able to mine around 3,000 of each resource, some more of Scalar, because it was, of course, it's a resource that you can obtain faster. And yeah, that's of course, this is just a very quick run, but if you really try to spend as much time as possible, you could earn up to like 10,000 of each resource, and that's of course a lot of research that you can do. So yeah, the same here applies to 5.7. I'm not gonna show you again the exact same thing, but this level is even easier. You have less platforms, so like you can't really place a lot of mining speed modifiers other than right here and right here. But you have a lot more powerful tiles that can make your towers much stronger, and especially the early game, you're gonna need like only 2 towers. You can survive super easily, and you can really place a lot of miners here. You can upgrade them, and yeah. But the process is pretty much the same as I described before. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and see ya. Bye bye.